Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today, we have our in-depth news. Earlier this month, the three of us had two short articles, and we do this every month. But now we're going to look at one article in depth. It's going to be very concentrated. We're going to look at different aspects of the same thing so that you can really learn in depth about a new subject, or for most people, it will be a new subject called Space Debris Slams into the Moon.
好，我们的中文标题是太空垃圾撞击月球表面。
Okay, debris. The S is not pronounced in English. I don't know if it is in French or not, but we had another word earlier this month, debut, D-E-B-U-T, and that T is not pronounced in English. So when you learn new words in English, make sure that use a dictionary or your computer that will speak out words for you to listen to make sure that just because it has a letter doesn't mean that that letter is pronounced.
所以这个 debris
I'm so sorry, but that feels like that's English's motto, and they borrowed it from the French, who have gone really super hard, double down hard on this. Well, if you can have an extra letter that we don't pronounce, why not put several? And most of our extra letter woes are actually from French words imported into the English language. So are you ever angry at an extra letter in English? Blame the French. I do. It's fun.
所以呢，这个重点是英文有的时候，尤其是外来语，尤其是来自于法文的这个外来语呢，通常有的字母是不发音的，好像这个 debris 那个 S 是不发音的。
Right. The word that I first realized as a student in primary school, I thought, beautiful. Why E-A-U? Why not just use a U?
Right. Yes. I'm just going to say yes. If we're going to have a stupid international language, can we just make it the most simple language possible?
所以这个 Bruce 老师他小时候呢学到这 beautiful 这个字的时候，他为什么想说为什么还有这个 EU 呢？为什么直接
E-A-U?
Yeah, 为什么要 EA 呢？你直接 BU 就好啦，那 beautiful 就可以啦。那所以这个native speaker 他们有时候也会觉得，为什么这个拼法跟念法会有这个差距？
Okay, let me breathe through our in-depth news and let's get busy with today's lesson. On March 4th, a massive piece of space junk reportedly crashed into the far side of the moon. Due to its location facing away from the Earth, it may take months to identify the impact site of the object. However, scientists predict the crash will have little effect on the moon, besides forming a new crater. The junk was initially thought to belong to an old SpaceX rocket after astronomers first noticed the object heading towards the moon. However, it was later found that the debris was most likely a Chinese-owned rocket. Chinese officials have denied this, saying the rocket in question had burned up when re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. While the rocket's original owner and its impact on the moon are not significant, the issue does raise an important question about space junk. It's estimated that there are currently more than 30,000 pieces of space junk larger than 10 centimeters in orbit around the Earth. These objects pose very little threat to us because they burn up in the atmosphere if they start to fall back to the planet. However, these objects can be a significant threat to satellites and other devices. These scrap pieces move at speeds of up to 8 kilometers per second and cause severe damage if they collide with essential devices in space. As a result, a growing group of scientists are calling for action to resolve this issue before it affects our ability to travel into space.
So, on March 4th, a massive piece of space junk. You don't use the word massive unless you want to say something is really, really big and really, really heavy, because massive means having a lot of mass. So it either has size or it has weight or it has both. And this one reportedly crashed into the far side of the moon. When you say reportedly, it's a little bit like claims.
Yeah.
Claims, you use this word when, say, Wesley says a thing, you don't believe him. So then you say to Bruce, Wesley claims that this is true. Is it? And he'll say yes or no.
Not if Wesley said it.
Okay, so Wesley's got no credit whatsoever with Bruce. However, you see my point that claims is when you want to say that somebody said a thing, but you don't trust it. Reportedly is another way to say this was said, this was reported, I heard about this, but I'm not sure it was true.
好，所以这个 reportedly 就是据报道。好，那这个字呢，刚刚 Angel 老师解释，就有一点像 claim 这个字。好，就是使用这个字的人呢，就是觉得不是那么相信哈，就是他们是这么说了哈，但是我不愿意证实，不愿意背书的意思。好，所以我们看到这个句子，他说在3月4号这一天呢，一个 massive 就是很巨大的、很沉重的啊，它通常它大而且感觉是蛮重的，因为它可能是实心的感觉，好像 massive 啊，这样的一个 piece of space junk 太空垃圾啊，一个很巨大的一块太空垃圾 reportedly 啊，据报道它是 crashed into 撞进了 the far side of the moon 啊 ，the far side 就离我们比较远的那一边。那中文的话可以翻译成背面啊，就月球的背面 ，the far side of the moon.
For those of you who don't know a great deal about astronomy, maybe if you've looked at the full moon, and in Chinese culture that's done at least once a year, you always see the same picture of the moon. We call it the same face of the moon. That's because unlike the Earth, we turn around, so we have day and night. The moon does not the moon orbits the Earth. It goes around the Earth, but it does not turn on its axis.
It does, ever so slowly. No. It revolves. It revolves relative to the sun. But basically, the moon is very, very, very weird for a space object because it always faces the same direction vis-a-vis the Earth. It always faces the Earth. That's weird. That is very weird.
Yeah, that's called, it is locked, gravitational lock. It cannot move because the Earth's gravity is so powerful. It stopped the turning of the moon. The moon originally turned, but it doesn't anymore. Anyway, that's why we say due to its location facing away from the Earth. What is facing away from the Earth? The so-called dark side of the moon, or the far side of the moon. It may take months because we can't see it. Where the space junk hit the moon was not in the area of the moon that we can see. So it may take months to identify the impact site. Where it hit is an impact of the object, whatever this space junk was.
So why does it have to take months? So that means we still
You'll have to send something up there to take a look at it.
We have to send something further than the moon and look back and take a picture of it for us.
Let's send Bruce.
I'm sensing a whole lot of hostility here.
OK， 好，我们刚才开玩笑啊。Bruce 老师跟 Angel 老师刚刚提到一个很有趣的现象，就是月亮呢其实是一直是同一个面对着地球的啊，所以月亮不像地球一样会自转啊，所以蛮有趣的。所以他这里讲的 far side of the moon 就是离我们比较远的那一边。然后第二句他又说，因为这个 location 是 facing away from the earth， 就是它是背对地球的啊，所以呢 it may take months， 就是可能要花几个月才能够 identify， 才能够辨认出来The impact site 就是撞击点 of the object。 那我刚刚就问 Bruce 老师啊，那月球不是不会转吗？那怎么办呢？我们怎么会看到呢？所以 Bruce 老师，那我们可能要派个人或者派个什么火箭啊，或者想个办法绕到它背后去看，所以可能要花几个月才有办法看出来，才会找得到那个撞击点。
However, scientists predict, they expect, or they're talking about what they know the future will hold.They say that the crash will have little effect on the moon. It's not going to do anything to the moon. It's not going to shift it or anything. The moon is really huge. The only thing it's going to do is make a little hole called a crater. That's what you call holes on the moon. That's what you call a hole made in any planet when something has hit it.
Including our planet.
Right. We've got craters. Like the Gulf of Mexico is probably
Yeah.
crater.
Part of it was the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah.
Out west, we talked about the west of the United States earlier this month. There's a beautiful crater. It's maybe half a mile in diameter, and I think it's recent history, astronomical history, something like 200,000 years ago. It hit and vaporized this area. I think it's in Arizona. And
are we talking about the Chicks Club?
No.
No,
That's
that one
the
is
Yucatan.
amazing.
That's
the Yucatan one, basically, it just pushed the atmosphere aside. Oh, let's not get into that. I also want to say that another kind of crater is a bomb crater. According to survivors of World War II, the safest place to be in World War II was in the middle of a bomb crater because statistically, it's not likely that another bomb would hit exactly there.
好，所以呢 ，crater 啊，我们在这里指的就陨石坑啊。那刚刚 Bruce 老师跟 Angela 老师提到说，啊，在美国或者在世界其他地方有很大的陨石坑啊。那陨石当初造成陨石坑的那个陨石撞击地球的时候，其实会造成很大的改变啊，可能气候啊，可能会有这个灰尘啊等等的啊，会很大的这个一些改变。那 Angela 老师也提到 bomb crater 就是炸弹坑啊。那这个有人说这个像二次大战、一次大战，他们有的人这么讲啊，就是最安全的地方就躲在那个炸弹坑的正中间啊，因为一个炸弹就或者炸弹不太可能在同一个地方落下2次啊。不过这东西没有科学证实啦啊。那我们来看看这个句子啊，他说呢，这个however， 但是呢 ，scientists 科学家 predict 他们预估预测 the crash 就是这样的一个撞击呢 ，will have little effect on 就是不会有什么影响，几乎不会有任何影响，叫做 will have little effect on。对什么影响呢 ？The moon 对于月球大概不会有什么影响。Besides 就是除了啊，除了怎么样呢？除了 forming 会形成一个 new crater 一个新的陨石坑之外呢，对月球大概不会有什么影响。
Okay, next paragraph. The junk was initially thought to belong to an old SpaceX rocket after astronomers first noticed the object heading towards the moon. So first we have astronomers who could see a very tiny but bright object heading towards the moon, but not that close to the moon that they couldn't see it. It was seemed to be aiming for the moon. And they thought, oh, maybe that's an old SpaceX rocket, one that didn't fall back to Earth. It kept going out into space, but then the moon attracted it and sucked it into the dark side of the moon.
好，所以我们看到这个 junk 就这一块太空垃圾呢 was initially 就是 at the beginning 啊，一开始大家这个 was thought to 就它一开始被认为是 belong to 属于一个老旧的一个 SpaceX 的这个火箭啊。那这是在什么时候被这样认为的呢？是在 the astronomers 天文学家 first 首先 notice 注意到 the object 这一个物体 heading towards the moon 朝向月球。好，那这里注意这个文法 noticed 在这里用法跟 see 一样，好，它后面加个受词，再加一个分词，表示他看到这个受词正在做这件事情啊。所以 noticed the object heading towards 看到这一个 object 正朝向月球而去。
It's already concerning that people are like, it's an old SpaceX rocket, because SpaceX is basically creating a lot of garbage, also a lot of shiny garbage. Why is shiny an issue? Because shiny reflects light and makes it very, very hard to see past the shiny garbage into the universe, which we always want to do. So it's already concerning that it's SpaceX, but however, it was later found out that the debris was most likely a Chinese-owned rocket.
这个 it was later found that 后来发现说这个残骸呢 was most likely 最有可能的是一个怎么样？是中国所拥有的火箭。
Chinese officials, members of the Chinese government, have denied this. 没有办法. They don't have anything to do with this, saying the rocket in question, this space junk, had burned up when re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. The air around the Earth is the atmosphere. It has oxygen in it. When something very quickly goes through the atmosphere, it combines with the oxygen, and that's how you get things to burn up.
好，那中国的官员呢 have denied this denied 就是否认他们认为他们说这跟我们无关不是我们的。他们说呢 the rocket 这个火箭呢 in question the rocket in question 就是 that is being discussed 就我们大家正在讨论的，所以我们大家在说的这一个火箭呢怎么样 had burned up 就你们说这是中国的火箭，说是哪一个火箭，但是你们讲的这个火箭呢其实已经烧掉了 burned up。当这个火箭的 re-entering 当它正在重返地球的大气层的时候呢，在大气层里面就烧掉了。
So while the rocket's original owner and its impact on the moon are not significant, it really doesn't matter that much who the rocket was owned by and that it landed on the moon. But the issue does raise an important question about space junk. Issue is another word for matter, and it also could be situation depending on the situation. It just means the thing that we're talking about. And this thing, this issue, is important. Space junk is actually becoming a more and more crucial issue as we go on further and having more and more stuff sending into space, and we need space, the real estate of space, more and more. Like right now, it's all international space. Anyone can do anything. That means a lot of people can send up a lot of junk that impacts literally everybody else's stuff.
好，所以呢，或者是一方面呢，这个火箭它的 original owner 原来的主人，还有它的 impact on the moon 它在月球上造成的这个冲击呢 are not significant 好，所以确实好，他们这原来的主人还有这个撞击月球这件事情其实不是那么重要。那 the issue 就是这件事情does 的确raise an important question about space junk 的确提出了一个关于太空垃圾很重要的一个问题。
Okay, let's find out why this is considered an issue or a problem. It's estimated that, some people estimate that, scientists estimate that, there are currently more than 30,000 pieces of space junk larger than 10 centimeters. That's 5 inches if you're more used to the English measurement system, of space junk in orbit around the Earth. So 30,000 is not a small number, and the problem is just one of them traveling at the great speeds that they can travel, hitting another piece of junk going around the Earth or entering the atmosphere and making it all the way to the surface of the Earth could be a serious problem.
It's actually, the serious problem is even worse than that. Most stuff that's designed to be in space is not designed to withstand collision. They're really fragile. So think about the International Space Station. It is basically a bunch of tin cans tied together with baling wire as far as collisions are concerned. And so if space junk comes barreling along and barrels into this International Space Station, our astronauts are toast.
Yeah, 所以这个就是说这些太空垃圾有一个问题，就是我们射到太空去的东西呢，常常并不是设计用来被冲撞或者承受撞击的。好，所以都相当脆弱，所以这些垃圾只要撞到我们的卫星，或者是甚至撞到国际太空站的话，都很可能会造成很大的损失。所以我们来看这个句，他说 It's estimated that 就是据估计 currently 目前大概有超过3万个这个pieces of space junk 有3万个这个太空垃圾而且是3万个是怎么样？是 larger than 10 centimeters 它比10公分还要大那大家不要觉得这个小小一点点，它如果因为它的速度很快，所以它撞到之后造成的影响是很可怕的。好，那接下来这3万个太空垃圾怎么样？是 in orbit 就是在轨道里面运行around the earth 就是在地球轨道里面运行，也就是说有3万片的这个太空垃圾环绕地球。
These objects pose very little threat to us on the surface of the planet because they burn up in the atmosphere if they start to fall back to the planet. So the atmosphere, it's the friction of it. As things pass through air, it starts hitting them with a lot of friction, and the speed they're going, it makes them hot, and generally they just turn into smoke. It has to be really big to get to the surface.
Right.
Yeah, 所以这些物体呢 pose very little threat to, pose threat to 就是造成威胁，所以这些物体呢对我们来讲造成很少的威胁，就对我们几乎是没有威胁的。为什么呢？因为 they burn up 他们会烧掉 in the atmosphere 他们会在大气层里面烧掉 if they start to fall back to the planet. 如果他们开始落回地球的话，他们会在大气层里面就烧掉了。
Okay, our final paragraph. However, these objects can be a significant threat to satellites and other devices. They're not so much a threat to those of us walking around the planet on the surface of the Earth because most of these pieces, the smaller ones, will burn up. But the smaller ones can be a huge problem if you are away from the surface of the Earth, if you're in space and you get hit by, it's like a bullet, and sometimes faster than a bullet, a little piece of space junk could destroy a space, a satellite where you have astronauts inside doing research.
好，所以他们对于我们在地球上的人不会有什么威胁，但是呢，这些物体呢 can be 可以是 a significant threat to， 就是他们可以是很重大的威胁。对谁的威胁呢？对于 satellites 卫星还有其他的 devices 太空设备来讲，他们是很有威胁的。
These scrap pieces move at speeds of up to 8 kilometers per second. That's really fast for those of you in the back who weren't paying attention to how much that is. And they cause severe damage. Severe means very, very bad if they collide with essential devices in space. If you're essentially flying around in a tin can and the tin can is the only thing that's keeping essential air on you, and that tin can is easily pierceable by, say, something flying at 8 kilometers per second, yeah, that object, no matter how small, is a huge problem.
好，所以 these scrap 就是废弃的 pieces 啊，这些废弃的太空垃圾 move 他们的运动啊的速度是怎么样呢 ？At speeds of 他们运动的速度是 up to 可以高达8 kilometers 8公里 per second， 所以他们每秒钟速度可以高达每秒钟8公里啊，非常的快。然后呢，他们会 cause severe damage， 他们会造成严重的损害。If they collide with， 如果他们和谁相撞 ，to collide with 就是和什么相撞。他们如果和 essential 就是很重要的 devices in space， 太空中一些很重要的装置，如果跟这些碎片相撞的话呢，这些碎片会造成 severe damage。
For example, a weather satellite, which goes around the Earth and helps us to see weather patterns and predict weather and so on. That's very, very useful, but it could be destroyed by just a small piece traveling so fast.
Yeah, 例如一个气候的卫星，如果被撞到的话，可能就会造成很大的损害，就可能不能作用了。
And we finish with the final sentence. As a result, because of this situation, a growing group of scientists are calling for action. The call for is to ask for or to bring up a point for discussion. Some people might even say demand, insist that this issue should be resolved. They want to resolve this issue. They want to solve this problem before it affects our ability to travel into space. Because if you're going to the moon or you're going to Mars, you have to go through that layer of space junk orbiting the Earth. And you may spend all that time and money and may have people in space vehicles traveling to the moon or other planets, but they don't get there because their rocket is destroyed by the space junk.
好，所以 as a result， 因此a growing group of scientists 就是有一群或者是越来越多的一群这个科学家，就是越来越多的科学家 are calling for action， 呼吁要采取行动，叫做 are calling for action。 2. 采取行动目的是要干嘛呢？要能够 resolve 解决 this issue 这个问题before it 就是指这个问题，在这个问题 affects 影响到 our ability to travel into space， 影响到我们进入太空旅行的能力之前，要 resolve this issue， 要解决掉这个议题。好，咱们呼吁我们要采取行动解决这个议题。
So we have some questions here for you. And number 1 is, which of the following is true about the space junk that hit the moon? What is a provable fact about this junk?
有关撞到月球的那块太空垃圾，下列何者为真？
The answer is C. A crater might be formed because of the impact of the junk.
好，那他们的撞击有可能会造成一个陨石坑，正确答案是 C。
Our second question. According to the passage, why is space junk a serious concern?
根据本文，为何太空垃圾是个严重的问题？
If you were paying attention, you would choose A. It can threaten important satellites like weather satellites.
答案是 A， 他们可能会威胁到重要的卫星，例如气象卫星。
And number 3, what are an increasing number of scientists asking for?
越来越多的科学家在要求什么呢？
They're asking for C, the problem of space trash to be addressed. They want someone to do something about this issue.
答案是 C， 他们希望大家能着手处理太空垃圾的问题。
Okay, that's it for today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit along with us. So, until the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.